Okay. Welcome to episode 86 of the Henry George Daily Devotional. We continue with section 3, as to certainty. I guess you could say as this is one of the canons of taxation, I guess is how he phrased it. Um, so we're considering the land value tax in light of the things we want from a tax. So certainty is an important element in taxation. Okay. For just as the collection of a tax, oh, quick question. Did you click on any of the links from yesterday's video? Are you gonna go to a George's meetup in LA? Or did I also post the links to the Alameda one? And there's also a Philadelphia one. And you missed the Toronto one. That was a week or two ago. Did you join the Georgism Discord? Did you read my blog? I haven't checked my blog numbers I haven't blogged in a week or two. Oh, I do have a new subscriber. Geo Liberty, a Dutch geo-libertarian. I write stuff because I want my children to live in a free world. Jawsome. Alright, let's get back to progress and poverty. For just as the collection of a tax depends upon the diligence and faithfulness of the collectors, and the public spirit and honesty of those who are to pay it, will opportunities for tyranny and corruption be opened on the one side and for evasions and frauds on the other. Yes, if the collection relies on diligence, faithfulness, public spirit, honesty, then there will be chances or there will be, as he puts it, opportunities to be tyrannical, to be corrupt about it, to evade it, commit fraud. We don't really want to rely on taxpayers being, uh, you know, what's the word? The honor system. We don't want to rely on the honor system. The methods by which the bulk of our revenues are collected are condemned on this ground, if on no other. Yes, almost all of our taxes currently suffer with this, and it causes us a lot of wasted wealth to try to enforce them. The gross corruptions and fraud occasioned in the United States by the whiskey and tobacco taxes are well known. The constant undervaluations of the custom house, the ridiculous untruthfulness of income tax returns. Wait a minute. When was the income tax created? So that's the federal income tax, I guess. When were state income taxes? The first state income tax. Huh. I guess he's just talking about income taxes in Europe. Or what about like when did the UK get an income tax? All right, so the UK had had an income tax for a very long time. All right. Interesting. And the absolute impossibility of getting anything like a just valuation of personal property are matters of notoriety. The material loss which such taxes inflict, the item of cost which this uncertainty adds to the amount paid by the people, but not received by the government, is very great. When in the days of the protective system of England her coasts were lined with an army of men endeavoring to prevent smuggling, and another army of men were engaged in evading them, it is evident that the maintenance of both armies had to come from the produce of labor and capital. Yeah, if you got to pay a bunch of guys to smuggle or to stop smugglers, and then the smugglers end up paying more and more people to smuggle, what a waste. that the expenses and profits of the smugglers, as well as the pay and bribes of the custom house officers, constituted a tax upon the industry of the nation, in addition to what was received by the government. And so, all douceurs, let's look, I have no idea, financial inducement, a gratuity, or bribe.
Douceur.
Douceur. All douceurs to assessors, all bribes to custom officials. We could have figured it out by context, I think. All monies expended in electing pliable officers or in procuring that this is trying to get the right person who is pliable elected, or in procuring acts or decisions which avoid taxation. All the costly modes of bringing in goods so as to evade duties, and of manufacturing so as to evade imposts. Um, yeah, I mean, I have sort of mixed feelings about people trying to minimize or dodge their taxes. Because in some sense, I agree that most taxes are unjust, but people are not paying the just tax, which would be the land value tax. So what is to be done? I don't know. Um, Other than change the world into a Georgist world. All moieties.
Moiety.
Moiety. Um,
Moiety.
the voice is just so fast and assertive. Each of two social or ritual groups into which people design, each of the two parts of a thing can be divided. All right. All moieties and expenses of detectives and spies, all expenses of legal proceedings and punishments, not only to the government but to those but to those prosecuted, are so much when these taxes take from the general fund of wealth without adding to the revenue. Yet this is the least part of the cost. Taxes which lack the element of certainty tell most fearfully upon morals. Our revenue laws as a body might well be entitled Acts to promote the corruption of public officials, to suppress honesty and encourage fraud, to set a premium upon perjury and the subordination of perjury, and to divorce the idea of law from the idea of justice. That's what George is mockingly saying our revenue laws as a body might well be titled. Subordination means underhandedly or improperly inducing someone to do something improper or unlawful. Mm. Subordination of perjury, inducing someone to make a false oath as part of a judicial proceeding. This is their true character, the true character of our revenue laws, and they succeed admirably. This is some real Georgie snark. Maybe we stop using the term Georgist and we just call it Georgie. Well, that doesn't work for the noun version, but for the adjective. Um, a custom house oath is a custom house oath. Okay, is a byword. Our assessors regularly swear to assess all property at its full true cash value, and habitually do nothing of the kind. Men who pride themselves on their personal and commercial honor bribe officials and make false returns, and the demoralizing spectacle is constantly presented of the same court trying a murderer one day and a vendor of unstamped matches the next. Yeah, my general hope, I don't know, how, can the land value tax help with corrupt government? I guess I don't know. It's this very, you know, chicken and the egg kind of problem, where it's like to get Georgism, you feel like you would probably need a government that is very um, good, not corrupt, not dominated by the wealth and power of landlords. and then to have a government not dominated by the wealth and power of landlords, to take away the wealth and power of landlords, you need Georgism. I don't know. I do think that a lot of people turn to corruption because they maybe they don't, write it out in their diary that they're not getting the fair compensation of normal labor due to uh, land rents siphoning it all away. But surely, in a simple way, I think a lot of young men turn towards crime and gang life because the other option of flipping burgers for minimum wage, I mean, they see people do that, and it's just like, well, that's not a good life. You're not really going to be able to um, accumulate much of the wealth you create. So why do it? I think there's a similar effect throughout our society towards further corruption because normal work doesn't pay the just amount. So, yeah, and so then well, I'll also just mention here sortition as a kind of government that I think is promising a structure of electing officials or not even electing them. It's through a sort of randomized selection, almost like we pick juries. You would be picking a kind of sort of jury to be your uh, government officials for some set of time. This would simultaneously abolish the party system, pretty much. I mean, you can't really. I mean, maybe people would still have. Maybe there would still be parties trying to persuade members of the legislative body or whatever to be on their side, I guess. But you would definitely abolish the campaign cycle. You would abolish the incentive that perverts a lot of politicians' motivations to get reelected because you would have no control over your own reelection because it's just randomly decided. You're very unlikely to get reselected. Um, and then the biggest hope is that it represents the people much more accurately. Anyway, look up sortition. There's a lot of Georgists that I discuss it with, and we don't know, like, do we try to get, is sortition the way that we try to then get Georgism, or do we need to like get a bit of Georgism so that we can then implement sortition? I don't know. I feel like I don't care too much about sortition if we got Georgism, but I just don't know how we can get Georgism in a world that's so dominated by um, landlords and special interests. All right, well, back to George. Um, and the demoralizing spectacle is constantly presented of the same court trying a murderer one day and a vendor of unstamped matches the next. I mean, I don't know. You have a court, it's going to have some very serious cases, like a murder, and then it will have some minor cases, petty theft. Um, but unstamped matches being a petty one about taxing. Anyway. So uncertain and so demoralizing are these modes of taxation that the New York Commission, composed of David A. Wells, Edwin Dodge, and George W. Cuyler, not sure how you pronounce it, who investigated the subject of taxation in that state, proposed to substitute for most of the taxes now levied, other than that on real estate, an arbitrary tax on each individual estimated on the rental value of the premises be occupied. Maybe that's supposed to be a he occupied. I don't know what this is. I don't remember. So they want like a property tax, or it's like probably a combo property and land tax, and then an arbitrary, and then just a per each person just on the rental value. Everybody has to pay a tax based on how much your premises could be rented. Interesting, maybe. So this is some sort of, yeah. But there is no necessity of resorting to any arbitrary assessment. The tax on land values, which is the least arbitrary of taxes, possesses in the highest degree the element of certainty. It may be assessed and collected with a definiteness that partakes of the immovable and unconcealable character of the land itself. Taxes levied on land may be collected to the last cent, and though the assessment of land is now often unequal, yet the assessment of personal property is far more unequal, and these inequalities in the assessment of land largely arise from the taxation of improvements with land and from the demoralization that, springing from the cause to which I have referred, affects the whole scheme of taxation. Were all taxes placed upon land values, irrespective of improvements, the scheme of taxation would be so simple and clear, and public attention would be so directed to it, that the valuation of taxation could and would be made with the same certainty that a real estate agent can determine the price a seller can get for a lot. Yeah. So George is convinced that the land value tax could be done, could be assessed precisely, accurately, cheaply. A lot of people aren't so sure. I've never quite understood that objection, even though, I mean, I worked as a home insurance appraiser, where my job was to visit individual homes, look at the quality of the materials used, the uh, difficulty of accessing the location, how much material, how big it was, um, and then using the general rates of local contractors, estimate how much it would cost to rebuild that structure. So this would be what you could estimate the value of land by taking the market price for that property, which would be, the price for the land plus the structure, and then you could subtract my report to the insurance company of how much it would cost simply to rebuild that structure, and take that rebuild cost and subtract it from the sale price of the property and come up with a land tax or a land value. And that's currently like done for every house already that has home insurance. Um, and that's not a very efficient way at all of doing it, because there's so much estimation, we'll call it, when you're looking at the quality of a bathroom or a kitchen or some, I don't know, weird addition a family made to the back of their house that has some weird, custom cabinetry or something. That's very subjective. And we currently demand our, property values to reflect all of these things. That is way more subjective and difficult to assess than simply looking and considering what the land would be worth if there were nothing, and ignoring whatever is built on top of it. It's not that hard to ignore what's built on top of land. Anyway, so I've never had an issue with that part of Georgism, like, oh, how do we assess land value? I definitely did question, is land still that significant in our modern world? But even that was not a big issue for me, given that I just spent like a decade paying rent every month in the city of Boston, and yeah, uh, space is expensive in Boston. All right, that does it for today's Henry George Daily Devotional. Come back next time for section 4 as to equality. Bye bye. Episode 86. Will we get to 100? I don't know. Um, we'll leave these links here, I guess. Book 8, Chapter 3, Section 3. Um, Not ease and cheapness this time. Oop, I went right past it. As to certainty. Um, Relying on the honor system for taxes means there's a lot of opportunities for bad actors. The land value tax would solve that. Um, Taxes other than the LVT require are hard to enforce. Good enough for me. '86, Book 8, Chapter 3. I think it was 3.3. I don't know. Yeah, cool. Oh, sorry man. I didn't realize my uh stream information still said Supervive. How does it say that? This says I miss Supervive. Were you in the playtest? Am I signed in? I think I'm signed in for the wrong. Yeah, I am supposedly broadcasting Supervive. Anyway, uh, I am more passionate about Georgism economics than Supervive, but I do like Supervive a lot. I'm excited about it. Let me update. I mean, I'm gonna be signing off soon anyway. just chatting. Supervive. Hello, Karnak. Supervive. We could watch the trailer. Supervive trailer is a top-down uh, MOBA battle royale. I really like the animation. Just and then I really like the song they used in the trailer. For me, I miss Battle Right, and this is sort of similar. I kind of prefer the arena mode of Supervive, where you just play 4v4. But the Battle Royale is kind of fun. I've just never been that into Battle Royales. It's too frustrating when you get like third-partied. But there is sometimes an excitingness to the Battle Royale, like when you get towards the end of it or something. But I don't know. I've like won Battle Royales now, or like you win a round or whatever, and sometimes you're just like, yeah, I kind of got lucky. Other people fought each other. Doesn't feel that good. Depends. Void ult. Devastating. I like to play the Archer Girl Mist. Or Void is fun too. There's another Void.
Please tell me you clipped that.
Yeah. Song is pretty catchy, I must admit. But Georgism is about providing justice for everybody through the land value tax. And I've been reading through Henry George's book, Progress and Poverty. That's what I was recording today. And I upload them to YouTube to share with the whole wide world, but originally the idea was to share it with some friends who are interested and wanted an audio book and um, didn't like the existing audiobook. And then they also were like, hey, we like it when you, I don't know, comment on it as you read it. Because if you just read it straight through, you get confused because it has super long sentences, has a lot of weird references, has a lot of antiquated vocabulary, so I end up having to look up a bunch of words or people. And I love it. It's so true and hopeful and just. It will save us. All right. If you ever want to play Supervive with me, my theory crafting name is Land Value Tax would solve that. If you ever want to learn about Georgism, you can check it out on YouTube. Either, how do I view my channel? What? Huh. I wonder if that works. I don't know if that's, yeah. Or you can just Google Georgism. Oh yeah, here was a video about modern monetary theory, which I think is not going to save the world. And it is, other than the basic understanding of like, oh, wait a minute, government can print money. It's like, yeah, what do you mean? How did you not know that? I don't get how people are all excited about modern monetary theory. But it doesn't solve the base problem of land monopoly. All right, see you later.